Tangled relates beautifully to A Course in Miracles because the whole story revolves around false identity, fear-based conditioning, guilt, specialness, and the recovery of inner light. Rapunzel begins the film believing the tower is safety. That is one of the ego's central tricks in ACM, convincing the mind that limitation is protection. Mother Gothel says the outside world is dangerous. People will hurt you, use you, reject you, destroy you. Fear becomes the architecture of identity. ACM describes the ego similarly. The ego builds a psychological tower out of defense mechanisms: control, avoidance, specialness, people-pleasing, self-protection, withdrawal. And then it says, stay here, this is survival. But the tower that promises safety also becomes imprisonment. That's why Rapunzel's longing matters so much. Despite all the conditioning, something in her still reaches toward light, life, and freedom. ACIM would say the memory of God cannot be fully extinguished. Even within confusion, there remains an impulse toward awakening. The floating lanterns symbolize this beautifully. They act like a recurring call from beyond the tower, a reminder that another reality exists beyond conditioned perception. Very ACIM. The miracle often begins as a faint recognition. There must be more than this. Not necessarily dramatic enlightenment, just an honest crack in the closed system. Mother Gothel is an almost perfect representation of the ego's strategy of conditional love. She does not truly love Rapunzel as a being. She uses Rapunzel as a source. That's crucial. ACIM says the ego does not understand love as extension. It understands relationship primarily through need, possession, bargaining, and self-preservation. Gothel constantly manipulates through guilt. I sacrificed for you. You're too weak. You'll fail without me. You should be grateful. This is psychologically important because guilt is one of the ego's primary control systems. The ego says, if you become free, you are betraying me. Many people experience this internally when awakening begins. Old identities, family systems, beliefs, and attachments often react as though freedom itself is dangerous. Then there's Rapunzel's hair. Her magical hair can symbolize many things through an ACIM lens, but one strong reading is this: light or creative power misidentified as personal possession. Everyone wants to use the light. Gothel for youth, the kingdom for restoration, others for gain. But Rapunzel herself barely understands what she is. That mirrors the ACIM idea that we carry divine inheritance while remaining largely unconscious of it. The ego either exploits gifts for specialness or fears them entirely. Spirit restores them to extension. Flynn Rider is interesting too because he begins as a self-invented identity. Even his name is fabricated. He performs confidence, charm, and individuality, but underneath is insecurity and survival adaptation. ACIM would say the ego is fundamentally performative. It builds personas to compensate for the belief in lack. His healing begins not when he perfects the performance, but when authenticity starts emerging through relationship. And that relationship evolves from specialness towards something more honest. At first, both Rapunzel and Flynn are using each other. She needs escape, he needs the crown. Transactional, but slowly seeing replaces projection. That movement resembles ACM's transition from special relationship to holy relationship. Less possession, less manipulation, more truth, more mutual liberation. There's also a profound ACIM moment when Rapunzel leaves the tower. Immediately after freedom comes panic. Excitement alternates with guilt and terror. That is psychologically accurate. The ego often makes awakening feel wrong at first because the nervous system has been organized around limitation for so long. Freedom can initially feel destabilizing rather than peaceful. ACIM constantly points to this. The ego interprets release as danger. Then comes the deeper revelation. Rapunzel is the lost princess. In ACIM terms, this is the recovery of true identity beneath conditioning. Not acquiring worth, remembering it. She was never actually what Gothel told her she was. That parallels ACM's core teaching. The separated self-concept is learned, defended, and reinforced, but not ultimately true. The kingdom's lost light was never destroyed, only forgotten and hidden. And perhaps the most ACIM-aligned moment in the film comes near the end, when Flynn cuts Rapunzel's hair. Why? Because he chooses her over the magical function she provides. That is the collapse of utility-based love. The ego says, I love you because of what you give me. Love says, you are not valuable because of your function. The light remains, even after the form changes. That's important. ACM repeatedly teaches that form is temporary, but what is real cannot be lost. The healing was never truly in the hair itself. The hair was a symbol pointing towards something deeper. Still, Tangled also offers a caution. It's easy to reduce awakening into follow your dream and be yourself. ACIM goes deeper than self-expression. It questions the entire egoic identity structure, including spiritualized versions of individuality. So Rapunzel's liberation is not merely, now I can do whatever I want. It's more, the false enclosure collapses and relationship, truth, and light become possible again.